Crimson Rivers, 3 months later. Lily hits the mat with a grunt, all the breath getting pushed from her lungs all at once from the impact. Kingsley stands over her, eyebrows raised. "You don't fight fair," Lily complains. "Yes, well, war isn't fair either," Kingsley reminds her. Lily purses her lips. "I just asked where you got the earring. You could have just said you didn't want to tell me." "On your feet, Red," Kingsley says, holding his hand down towards her. The earring she is referencing glints in his right ear, gold and glimmering under the overhead lights. He didn't have it yesterday. Lily has her suspicions on how he got it. "You know, Sybil will like it," Lily points out, lightly, as she reaches up to grab his hand, letting him haul her to her feet. Kingsley just hums, expression neutral. "Has she seen it yet?" Lily tries again, bouncing on the balls of her feet as they shift further apart. Kingsley doesn't answer her. He just shakes out his arm. "She'll think it's sexy." "Lily," Kingsley says, his voice low and smooth, but there's a tiny smile twitching at the corner of his mouth. Lily laughs. "What? She will!" "You're in a good mood today," Kingsley notes, bringing his hands up loosely in front of him. Well, your earring just gave me good news," Lily says, breaking out into a grin as she brings her hands up as well. Kingsley heaves a sigh, and she rushes in. Despite all the training Lily has done the last 3 months, she still can't beat Kingsley, though not for a lack of trying. Lily takes training very seriously, rarely if ever goofing off, and always focusing rigorously. This isn't a game, this is preparation for what's to come, and she's not taking it lightly. Kingsley is her main trainer, but she's done a lot of work with Poppy, especially with the medical side of things in mind. It's hard and draining, but satisfying too. It gives her purpose. Though every time her back hits the mat, Lily does find herself ever so briefly wondering what the fuck she's even doing. Sometimes she asks herself that, just to remember the answer. The same one each time. For Remus. For her family. For the war, so that one day, someday, everyone will know peace, and everyone will be free. That's love in its own way, she thinks. Love for things that she does not actually have, so it cannot be taken from her. All that she fights for is a strength, not a weakness. Just how Dumbledore likes it. "Better," Kingsley praises when Lily, after hitting the floor, immediately rolls to her feet with no pause, still at the ready. "I know," Lily says, holding herself still as he gets closer, waiting for the opening. Kingsley never gives her one. His form is perfect, and there is no doubt in her mind that he is the best fighter compared to literally anyone else within the Phoenix. He keeps a cool head, too, even in a fight, which likely makes him invaluable to Dumbledore as well. There's a reason Kingsley has such a high position within the Order. "You're thinking too much," Kingsley murmurs. "That's the thing. He's always calm, always focused on whatever task he's been given, duty-driven and goal-oriented. Nothing gets to him, no matter the situation. Nothing." "I can't help that my brain is always working, King," Lily replies, exasperated. "But I am improving, right?" Kingsley nods. "You are. Even today, you've shown signs of improvement. Do you want to stop and head to the range?" "Yes," Lily blurts out immediately, perking up. "I thought you would," Kingsley says, a fond smile flashing across his face as he drops his hands. "So, the earring," Lily muses, raising her eyebrows at him as they head out of the training room. "Let it go," Kingsley mutters. Lily squints at him. "Absolutely not." Kingsley doesn't reply, his hand coming up to tug at his earlobe as they make their way through the compound, heading down to the lower levels. His fingers curl around the earring, blocking it from sight, but Lily realizes with rising interest that he drops his hand as soon as Sybil comes into view. She has her suspicions about how he got it, but she now has her suspicions about why he got it. She was teasing before about Sybil, but maybe... "King!" Sybil gasps in delight as soon as she notices. Her eyes brighten immediately as she rips away from Wren, who she was walking down the hall with, to rock forward and gape at Kingsley's ear. She rears back, staring at him in disbelief, as if she's never even seen him before. "Is that an—" "Shh," Lily hisses quickly, shooting her a look and glancing around. They'll just take it from him if they find out about it, and Sybil isn't exactly being quiet. "You're so sexy," Sybil informs Kingsley, just as Lily knew she would. "I want one. Did you do it yourself? Will you do me?" "Oh, I'm sure he would love to do you," Lily says in wry amusement, because she knows that look in Kingsley's eye. And yeah, her suspicions are correct. She wonders how long. Her heart gives a small pang. She hopes it hasn't been a long time, at least not before her training started, because that would mean he had to see Lily and Sybil together. Lily and I have to go, Kingsley announces smoothly, darting a look towards Lily that tells her to keep her mouth shut. She does. Kingsley's a grown man. He can handle himself. He flashes Sybil a grin, the kind that makes knees wobble. I can come by your room after, if you want. Sybil beams at him. That'd be lovely. What about you, Evans? Wren calls out, giving her a slow look up and down the length of her body, her intentions very clear. You need a room to come to after? Lily chuckles. Not this time, Wren. Sorry. But we miss you, Wren complains, laughing through a groan as she pretends to stomp her feet. It's true, we do, Sybil confirms, reaching up curiously to poke Kingsley's ear, still enthralled with the earring. Kingsley holds very still and lets her do what she likes. Miranda and Ember are about to start climbing the walls. Ah, sorry, you know how busy I've been, Lily says with a grimace of apology. It wasn't a joke when she said that the women she sleeps with, or used to, would be disappointed if she stopped. They are. Lily hasn't had the time for any of them the last 3 months. Here's an idea, just a thought, but have any of you considered, fucking each other? No one does it like you, Lily, Sybil says cheerfully. Lily winces slightly, stealing a glance at Kingsley, who remains remarkably neutral through hearing that. It's possibly not that big of a blow, purely because Sybil looks like she wants to bite his ear at the moment, though that is surely because of the earring. She's so strange. Lily finds her delightful. Right, well, we have to go. Lily coughs and gives out half-hearted platitudes, while Sybil and Wren call after them to beg off their duties and stay a little longer. Despite the temptation, Lily and Kingsley remain strong and continue on. They're silent for a bit, and as soon as Lily opens her mouth, Kingsley says, "Not a word, Red." So Lily closes it again and does her best to stifle her laugh. Lily focuses again when they enter the gun range, because this is where she excels. This is her bread and butter, so to speak. With practice, she's become very efficient with guns, which may have something to do with the fact that she uses her own free time to get better with them. Sometimes when she leaves the infirmary after her shift, she comes here. She pulls guns apart and puts them back together, over and over and over. She reels back the target and shoots until she never misses, no matter what gun she's holding. She'd worried she would be afraid of guns, because she's been shot before, but she's not. Or maybe she is, and the obsessive way she's been about guns is how she controls that fear. Kingsley doesn't speak to her as he sticks up the paper with a vague silhouette of a person on it for both of them, reeling each of them back until the numbers almost aren't visible. He chooses the gun she'll work with first, and they separate to go to their own stalls, a divider keeping them apart. Right hand, left shoulder, head, in that order, Kingsley calls out. You got it, Lily says, then lifts her gun, not even hesitating to pull the trigger. It's quick, 3 shots back to back before Kingsley can make it through his, even though they started at the same time. He finishes only seconds after her, but those seconds matter when it's life or death. Lily doesn't miss 1 shot. It continues like this for a while, Kingsley calling out orders and Lily completing them faster than he can. They cycle through various guns, Kingsley replaces the target paper multiple times, and then, towards the end, Lily is taken to a table and timed on reloading each and every gun. All right, you're done for the day, at least until your shift at the infirmary, Kingsley says. Yeah, all right. Lily sticks around to help him lock the guns back up anyway, then sort of blocks him before he can quickly escape. So, Kingsley heaves a sigh. Don't make a big deal out of it. You like her, Lily says, grinning. King, you really like her. You got an earring for her. Kingsley's face twitches, and then he sighs as he lifts a hand to shield his eyes, as if embarrassed. Oh, that's stupid. This is so stupid. I am so stupid. No, Lily rushes to correct. It wasn't stupid. It was cute. It's really cute. You're not stupid, Kingsley. I don't even know if she likes men, Kingsley says warily, dropping his hand. Lily nods quickly. She does. You absolutely have a chance, okay? She reaches out and knocks her elbow into his, catching his gaze. How long have you... Lily, Kingsley says, strained. Oh, fuck, you fancied her even while I was sleeping with her? Lily blurts out, distressed. She stares at him with wide eyes, but he just looks away. Fuck's sake, King, why didn't you say something? I would have... Kingsley grimaces and mutters, Look, I'm not proud of it, but that's how I figured it out, all right? What? Lily asks, confused. Didn't know, Kingsley explains, heaving a sigh. He shrugs at her a little helplessly. I mean, Sybil and I have been friends for years, and sure, I always thought she was brilliant, but I also used to think she was really fucking weird. She is weird, Lily points out. Yeah, I didn't know I was into weird until... Kingsley frowns and gestures to her. It took me a bit, honestly, because I couldn't figure out what bothered me about it so much. Men, Lily thinks in despair. She shakes her head, fighting a smile at the bewildered look on his face, like it still baffles him a bit. All right, but why didn't you say something? It was bothering you, yeah? If I would have known... I have no say in who Sybil is with, or isn't, just because I like her. I didn't figure it out until it was too late, and that was on me, not you or her, Kingsley says simply. Yeah, but I still... Lily sighs. Well, if it makes you feel any better, it didn't mean anything. Yeah, Red, it never does with you, does it? Kingsley murmurs, eyebrows furrowed. What's that supposed to mean? Lily asks with a frown, admittedly a bit betrayed that Kingsley seems to be turning the conversation to her issues or whatever. Kingsley arches an eyebrow at her. You know what I'm saying. Nothing means anything to you, not with anyone. And I don't just mean romance or sex, because that's your prerogative to navigate how you wish. I'm talking about how you don't let yourself get close to anyone. You don't care. Not really. Lily purses her lips, looking away. She knows Kingsley is worried for her because of how distant she is. But she doesn't really care. It's better for her not to care. She likes Kingsley, sure, but they're not friends. That's not what this is. Really, Lily likes plenty of the people in the Phoenix, or affiliated with them, but not enough that it would be a blow to lose them. If Kingsley was running with her, chased, covered in blood, and he shoved her away to tell her to keep running, she would. She wouldn't hesitate. She wouldn't look back. She wouldn't break down and let herself get shot. Not like she did with Remus. As if he can read her mind, Kingsley quietly says, I know what happened with Remus was... Don't talk about him, Lily cuts in sharply. So sharp that Kingsley instantly stops. His eyes are sad, and she hates it. He was there that day, 5 years ago. He gunned down oars to pick her up off the ground, to save her, and her tears weren't for the gunshot wound in her shoulder, but for Remus. She had been chanting his name, begging Kingsley to save him, and he promised he would try as soon as he got her to safety. And he did. As soon as she was safe, he left to go try, while she was carted off to the Phoenix by the team he was working with. Kingsley never found Remus. Dumbledore told her that day in the infirmary, when she demanded to know if he had been captured, refusing to stay at the Phoenix if he was, fully intending to claw her way into the Hallow right by herself to save him, if she had to. Dumbledore regretfully informed her that Remus had been executed, as had her family. Kingsley, who was in the other bed with a gunshot wound to his leg, had watched her weep in silence. He told her that he had tried, and he was sorry, and she thanked him. It was the last words she spoke for a long, long time. When she did speak again, it was to ask Kingsley for help on getting outside, because she couldn't take it anymore, couldn't stand feeling smothered underground anymore, and Kingsley got her a radio and told her to do what she had to do. Lily and Kingsley have a lot of history. He was the first person she was actually comfortable with in the Phoenix, and perhaps that was because he saved her, because he actually put in the effort to at least try and save Remus. He's a good man, and though she doesn't allow herself to get too close to him or anyone, she has unwavering respect for him. You don't talk about it, Kingsley says quietly. You never talk about it, what happened that day. Sometimes I think you never moved past it, Lily. I haven't. How can I? Lily thinks, her stomach twisting like gnarled roots at the base of an overturned tree. She doesn't know how she could ever move past it when it ended the way it did. It was her fault, hers and Remus's. He could never stay out of trouble, and she could never leave well enough alone. They were a recipe for disaster from the very beginning, her and Remus. Chaos twins, but in the worst way possible, quietly. No one saw them coming, until they did. Dorcas is here, isn't she? Lily asks abruptly, holding his gaze as she brazenly and carelessly changes the subject. He narrows his eyes, and she hums. She gave you the earring, then? Kingsley stares at her for a long moment, but she doesn't look away, making it clear that, as always, she won't be leaving well enough alone. He sighs. Yeah, she's here. Lily grins. Dorcas tracks Slughorn all the way through the room as he beats a hasty retreat, finally released by Dumbledore. He's been unable to meet her eyes, constantly fidgeting every time she speaks, freezing in fear when she addresses him. She made him squirm throughout the meeting. She enjoyed it. "I must ask," Dumbledore says softly, drawing her gaze to him as the door shuts. "Whatever did you do to frighten him so?" "He didn't say?" Dorcas asks. Dumbledore shakes his head. "I imagine he was too afraid to." "Well, that's satisfying," Dorcas admits, mildly amused. "I told him that he had two options, either come here or get his brains blown out. I may have implied that I would have been disappointed by him choosing the first. Or rather, I told him I would, because I didn't feel the need to lie to him about it. Recruitment is meant to be a choice, Miss Meadows. We don't threaten the lives of our allies. He wasn't exactly an ally at the time, now was he? Besides, don't pretend that you never operate under the rule that the end justifies the means. Was it not you that told me the risk of recruitment was necessary to win the war, regardless of what losses we would face along the way? That may be so, but coercion is not a burden I ever asked you to bear, Dumbledore murmurs. Dorcas rolls her shoulders lazily. It's not one too heavy, I assure you. Quite light, actually. You blame him, Dumbledore notes. I blame them all, Dorcas corrects. Dumbledore hums. Resentment addles the mind more than you know, Miss Meadows. Keep a clear head. Don't question my methods so long as I get things done. If you don't like it, find someone else, Dorcas informs him sharply, and he doesn't respond. Ah, but you can't, can you? No one does what I do as effectively as I can. You have made yourself quite useful, Dumbledore agrees, almost sounding fond. Dorcas ignores that. How's Molly? Adjusting well, Dumbledore says. She's an asset to the infirmary, and seems to get on delightfully with Arthur, though she does insist upon joining the war efforts more forwardly. She would like to be in the field. Will you let her be? No. You mentioned a new field medic, not her then. Lily Evans. Ah, Dorcas murmurs, working to keep her expression neutral. She inclines her head. Wise choice, sir. Dumbledore smiles. Yes, I thought so too. I want to know what happened to them, Dorcas demands, leaning forward on her elbows as she holds his gaze over his desk. Gideon and Fabian, where did it go wrong? You're assuming I know? Dumbledore asks. Dorcas scoffs. Of course you know. You always know. And honestly, half the time I don't care to know all that you do. I only care to know what I need to. But this, I have to know this. And you're going to tell me. I fear that this knowledge is too great for you to bear. I don't care. Tell me. I can't risk the progress your position provides for this war, Dumbledore says simply. I won't. I have been in this for years, Dorcas hisses, slamming her hand down on the desk. He doesn't flinch. I have given it my all since Alistair Moody recruited me, and I have never, not once, questioned you or my orders. My position is not at risk, not unless you continue to refuse me now. Miss Meadows, answer me or I walk. Dumbledore regards her for a long moment, his eyes clear and calm. You are in far too deep to walk away now. You underestimate me, Dorcas replies coldly. I won't be manipulated. Keep your thinly veiled threats. We both know what's at stake here. You need me. If I walk away, I don't get far. Don't make the mistake of thinking that will stop me. I'm not above coercion, but I refuse to fall prey to it. Have you considered that I wish not to tell you for your own sake? Dumbledore asks, almost gentle about it, but she doesn't soften a bit. He sighs. If you insist. Dorcas leans back. Go on, then. The Pruitts were tasked with gathering important intel from one of my informants. The information allowed us to intercept and obtain a shipment of biological warfare only the Hallow has ever had access to, Dumbledore explains. It included the history and the formula, which was something we could not afford to pass up. In doing so, it notified Tom Riddle that the information had somehow been leaked. He knew it was a Hallow, seeing as only Hallows have access to the city, as far as he knows. Unfortunately, the loyalty of the Hallow is so great that it's quite noticeable when there's disloyalty, specifically when it is bold disloyalty. No, Dorcas whispers. Dumbledore holds her gaze. You're very bold, Miss Meadows. No, Dorcas chokes out, her whole body feeling like it's numb, like maybe she's floating somewhere beyond it, Her eyes are prickling with heat and building tears. "You were a suspect," Dumbledore murmurs. "But, as I told you, I cannot risk the progress your position provides for this war." Dorcas glares at him through her tears. You made them take the fall for me, because I'm worth more to you than they were? You killed them! Fabian and Gideon Pruitt knew the risks, just as you do, Dumbledore says softly. They were willing to fight and die in this war just as you are. You and all that you provide this cause were at risk, as was my informant, so I did what had to be done to keep you both alive. To lose either of you would be a blow to our efforts that we desperately did not need then, now, or in the future. You're at severe risk of losing me now, Dorcas croaks, balling her hands into fists. Dumbledore shakes his head. I'm not. Though you are hurt and grieving, it's as you said, you do not fall prey to coercion. And that means you are here because you believe in this. You don't need to blame yourself. You are not at fault. No, you are, Dorcas snarls. The greater good, unfortunately, builds itself on the foundation of sacrifice, Dumbledore says quietly. You can't see that right now, and I don't need you to. All I need is for you to do what you always have, get things done. And if I don't, Dorcas rasps. You will, Dumbledore tells her. Dorcas swallows and blinks hard, taking in a deep breath before it shudders on the way out. She looks him right in the eyes and says, Fuck you. You're dismissed, Dumbledore murmurs, turning his head to gaze at the painting on the wall, the one that's been there for as long as Dorcas has been around to see it every time she steps foot into his office. A portrait of a young girl, her eyes a twinkling blue that matches Dumbledore's. Dorcas wrenches to her feet and heads to the door without looking back, only pausing with her hand on the handle when he calls out to her. Oh, and Miss Meadows? Dorcas doesn't grant him with a response, standing in place with her shoulders tense, grinding her teeth. I will be in touch soon, Dumbledore says, and Dorcas squeezes her eyes shut before turning her head and giving him a jerky nod, then exits the room and slams the door shut behind her on her way out. For a long moment, Dorcas can only stand there and breathe, and exist with this knowledge, and wrestle with the reality that she can do nothing about it. There are no good people in war, Dorcas knows that. She has never dared to claim that she is a good person, especially in the midst of this war that she's planted herself firmly in the middle of. There are a lot of things that sit heavily on her chest, on her heart. Things she will never be free from the weight of. But Gideon and Fabian, they were good men. They were her friends. Dumbledore is not a good man, and Dorcas has never fallen for the illusion that he is. Riddle is worse, that's the horrible reality of it, the lesser of two evils. At least, regardless of what it takes to get there, Dumbledore wants the world to be a better place. That's what sets him apart from Riddle, who wants the world to stay just as it is, at its worst. When Dorcas joined the Order of the Phoenix, she did so with the knowledge that Dumbledore would do whatever was necessary to get what he wanted, what they all want, and she wants the same thing, so she appreciated this about him. It has never affected her so starkly until this moment, until Fabian and Gideon, and now it leaves a sour taste in her mouth. Riddle is careless with lives. Dumbledore weighs them. Dorcas is briefly, viscerally grateful that they are against one another, rather than working together. She's thankful now more than ever that Dumbledore was not born a Hallow. Sometimes Dorcas wonders if being a victor in his own games, long, long ago, shaped him into the person he is today, the person who can and will choose who lives or dies if a situation arises where the choice needs to be made. She doesn't know his full story, only what she learned over the last few years, but she knows that he won his games, and she knows he killed Gellert Grindelwald, the master of the Hallow at the time. She knows now that he is responsible for the death of Fabian and Gideon. She wishes, fretfully and desperately, that it was enough to make her walk away, but it isn't. To do that would be to live on in ignorance, choosing to do nothing when she can actually make a difference. To walk away from him and all that she stands for would be to walk right to Riddle's side, and she will never, never do that. Not that Dumbledore would let her get far if she tried, honestly. Dorcas is smarter than that. If she is not with them, she is a threat. After all, she knows far too much. And putting the cause at risk is not something Dumbledore stands for. She could possibly make it as far as the train to board it, but she has no doubt that she wouldn't make it home. Maybe that should scare her, but it doesn't. Sighing heavily, Dorcas sets her shoulders, swipes her face, and starts making her way through the compound. People in the Phoenix are used to her by now. There aren't that many Hallows in the Order. Shocker. Dorcas is one of the few. Most everyone else either escaped from their districts or were born in the Phoenix, and have been living here their whole lives. The latest Hallow to join up, even through coercion, is Slughorn. She catches sight of him in the great hall as she goes through, chattering merrily to a few people sitting with him at the table, laughing and drinking. The sight makes her blood boil, honestly, but she doesn't engage or interrupt. Slughorn has clearly adjusted to his place in the Phoenix, though some people had implied that it wasn't a simple process. Apparently he was shunned for quite a bit for some of the stupid shit that fell out of his mouth, all coming from a place of privilege and entitlement, the Hallow special, if you will. Dorcas knows these people, and she knows many of them well by now. She doesn't doubt that Slughorn was put in his place and had a very, very rude awakening waiting for him. Dorcas stops by the infirmary to at least see Molly, and Arthur, technically, since he's here as well. It's fortunately quiet when she comes in. There's a child on one of the beds, coughing pitifully in his sleep, as his mother, Dorcas assumes at least, gently strokes his hair, looking worried. "Dorcas," Molly says brightly when she sees her, and then she's bustling over to pull a startled Dorcas into a hug. Tentatively, Dorcas returns the gesture, her heart sinking as she realizes that she doesn't deserve it. Dumbledore may have made the choice to throw Fabian and Gideon under the bus, but he did that so she wouldn't be run over, her and his secret informant. Dorcas didn't make the call, but she's at least partially responsible, though she always has been. After all, it was her that recruited them in the first place. Molly seems better than the last time Dorcas saw her. Frankly, Dorcas is a little surprised that Molly seems to be pleased to see her, considering Molly did once threaten to kill her and fully intended to carry through on said threat. Dorcas doesn't really blame her for that. It comes from a place of grief and pure desperation. She even apologized afterwards, which was nice. Dorcas is also quite sure that Molly draws comfort from her because she reminds her of home as another Hallow. Molly can never go home again, at least not before the war is over. She knows too much now, and as close as she was to Gideon and Fabian, she would be at risk. "Hi, Molly," Dorcas murmurs as they break apart. "I just wanted to come check on you and see how you're adjusting." "Really well, all things considered," Molly tells her, taking a deep breath. "Don't much like being underground, if I'm honest, but I'm getting used to it. Arthur's been a gem." Dorcas glances at the man in question, who smiles and waves as soon as she catches his eye. He's filling out some sort of paperwork, so she just waves back and focuses on Molly again, who looks at him fondly. "That's good. I wanted to say I'm sorry that I missed the funeral held for Fab and Kid." "I'm sorry you did as well," Molly murmurs. "It was lovely. Dumbledore was so kind. He gave a speech, and everyone was just so respectful about them." "It's nothing less than they deserved," Dorcas croaks, swallowing past the lump in her throat. Just the thought of Dumbledore talking about them, it makes her sick in her fucking stomach. "Molly, I want you to know that if I had been given the choice, they would still be alive. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Molly blinks rapidly, her eyes misty, and she squeezes Dorcas's hand with a wobbly smile. "I know, Dorcas. You meant a lot to them. Please, never forget that." "Right," Dorcas whispers, giving a pained smile. "Ah, as lovely as it is to see you, I was also hoping to speak to Poppy. Is she in by any chance?" "She's in her office," Molly says, nodding towards it. "Go on, go see her. I have to get back to work anyway." Dorcas lets Molly squeeze her hand one more time, then pulls away to head towards Poppy's office. She knocks, waiting for the call to let her in, and then she slips through the door. Poppy looks mildly startled to see her, but pleased. "Ah, Dorcas, when did you get in?" Poppy asks. "Early. I've been in a meeting with Dumbledore," Dorcas explains, sitting in the chair in front of her desk. Poppy nods. "And Minerva?" "She's here. Waiting for you in your room, I imagine. Probably sleeping, honestly, because she was dead on her feet when we got in," Dorcas says with a grimace. "Ah," Poppy says with a sigh, shaking her head in clear disapproval. "She never rests properly, that woman. She's such a stubborn thing, you know? A bit stupid, really. Dorcas's lips twitch. Only Poppy would dare to insult Minerva in any way, because most people know better. Poppy is the only one who can get away with it. Well, no offense, Poppy, but you're hardly one to talk, are you? How long have you been in the office this time? Anyway, Poppy says, pursing her lips. What can I help you with, Dorcas? Uh-huh. Dorcas stifles a laugh, shaking her head fondly when Poppy narrows her eyes at her playfully. I'm glad you asked. Like I said, I had a meeting with Dumbledore. He brought up biological warfare shipments the Order stole underneath Riddle. I'm assuming you were there. Poppy straightens up, serious in seconds. I was. Biological warfare, Dorcas says slowly. That implies a virus, doesn't it? But weaponized? Is that what it is? It's a bit broader than that. Basically, it's the use of biological toxins or infectious agents such as bacteria, viruses, insects, and things such as that. Usually to kill masses of people on a larger scale, Poppy clarifies. In this case, it's specifically involved with insects, particularly Hallow made. I've never seen anything like it before. It doesn't get worse than this. It doesn't get worse than this. What is it? Dorcas asks. 1 second. Poppy rolls her chair back and stoops over the safe behind her, cupping her hand around the keypad to shield it. There's a long sequence of beeping, very long, as she puts in the code. Then the safe opens with a hiss and a click. She pulls something out and shuts the safe again before rolling back to the desk and sitting down a vial of... Dorcas blinks, her lips tipping down as she stares at the vial, feeling a tug in her mind that insists she knows what that is already. It takes her a moment of staring at the shimmering liquid in the vial, thick and green, and then it clicks. Her eyes dart up in alarm. Horcrux Hornet venom. So it is, Poppy confirms with a sigh. We found it in various forms, both inside the Hornets and extracted from them. And we collected a formula indicating that Riddle has plans to have it made into a gas with the same deadly infectious agents. It is the quickest, most violent form of biological warfare the world has ever seen. But why? Dorcas blurts out in shock, just in knee-jerk disbelief that anyone would willingly do that. Who the fuck would want that? Well, Riddle, obviously. She doesn't know why she's so surprised. It baffles us all, Poppy declares wryly, her lips twisting in distaste. Slughorn has informed us that Riddle has a fascination with them, the Horcrux Hornets, and their venom. Apparently Riddle is immune to them, because he doesn't experience fear, and they only respond to fear. Dorcas scowls. But he's weaponizing the venom outside of that. That's a risk, is it not? One doesn't just create biological warfare to this extreme without creating a failsafe, if they're smart. We found notes implying it, but something that important, it's being handled in the Hallow. District 1 was tasked with weaponizing the Horcrux Hornets, but the cure, or whatever immunity he intends to create, he wouldn't risk it falling into the wrong hands. We know it's happening, but not what it is or how it's made, so we can't replicate it. Not yet, anyway. I'm working on that now, or trying to. So far, I have nothing. Right, but what is the purpose of having something like this as a weapon to begin with? Poppy sighs. Well, in liquid form, he could easily use the biological toxins and the venom to infect a district's water supply, for instance. It would be the quickest, most efficient plague in history. In gas form, he could just release it in a district, or let it be used in future games, especially if he works out how to contain and control it. He could easily and swiftly kill masses with this, should he feel the need to. Lovely, Dorcas croaks, as a bolt of fear shoots down her spine. And we know nothing about the cure, or immunity, or both? Nothing yet, Poppy murmurs wearily. I'm doing my best. No, of course you are, Dorcas says quickly, swallowing as she stares at the vial, goosebumps breaking out along her skin. I don't doubt it. Thank you for telling me. If you hear anything, don't worry, I'll let you know if I do. Thank you. Poppy nods and scoops up the vial, watching Dorcas stand. Heading out? Can't stay long, Dorcas murmurs. I have a few things to handle back in the Hallow anyway. Minerva is staying for a bit, though, so don't worry about that. Who's taking you back? Poppy asks. Dorcas shrugs. Edgar, I think. Not fussed either way. Minerva needs to rest as it is. You're damn right, Poppy agrees sternly, then continues to grumble under her breath about Minerva's apparent lack of regard for her health, fussing even as they say their goodbyes, and Dorcas takes her leave. The information she just learned weighs on her all the way out of the infirmary and towards her room. The last stop she'll make to grab her bags before she goes. It's a frightening thing, knowing what sort of power Riddle has, knowing what his plans are. He doesn't care about risks. He never has. It scares her, but she thinks he's preparing for a war. What scares her more is the length that he'll go to in the endeavor to win. Dorcas is tired and emotionally drained and tense, so she can't be blamed for the yelp that rips out of her when she walks into her room and is immediately swept into a pair of arms. She gets 1 second to see Lily's sparkling eyes, not so different from the Horcrux Hornet Venom, actually, and her broad grin before she's been kissed. Instinctively, Dorcas kisses her back, because she has always kissed Lily back. She even sinks into it with a floodgate of relief crashing through her, because it lets her mind empty out of all the complicated, painful things that fill it. Lily's always been good at that, drawing her out of her own head. Though really, Dorcas knows it's an exchange between them, both of them getting lost in each other so they don't have to be lost in the things that plague them, at least for a little while. So it's easy to get caught up in it, easy to slide her hands in Lily's hair, tugging her closer as the kiss deepens. Easy to back up when Lily walks her up against the wall. Easy to moan, to arch closer, as Lily nips her bottom lip and slides cool hands under her shirt, fingers flirting with her hip bones. "Tell me you brought cigarettes," Lily says breathlessly, as soon as they break away from each other. Dorcas huffs out a weak laugh. "You know, I'm starting to get the idea that you only have anything to do with me because I supply your habit." "Our habit," Lily teases. "And no, that's not the only reason. You're also full of fun information I just so happen to want." "Oh, I have nothing for you this time, so don't even try. I can't stay long anyway," Dorcas mutters. Lily clicks her tongue. "Pity. Suppose we'll have to make this quick, then." With that, Lily dips down to catch Dorcas under her thighs and haul her up in her arms, turning to carry her off to bed. Dorcas admittedly gets caught up in kissing her again, because it has been a while now, and it feels good. It's not until Lily is laying her out on the bed and settling between her spread thighs that Dorcas has a passing thought, one that's like a smack to the face, just a quick flash of memory, blonde hair instead of red, the last person Dorcas was with before this, Marlene. Dorcas does her absolute best to smother the thought, the reminder, because it shouldn't matter. It can't matter. She's not doing anything wrong, obviously, and yet the mere thought of Marlene makes her chest clench and completely takes her right out of the moment. That may have something to do with the fact that Dorcas never got to say goodbye. She went back and forth on seeing Marlene off before she left, after the end of the games, and in her battle she couldn't figure out how to win. It would mean something, she thought, and they had agreed to be friends, just friends, nothing more. They could never be more because it would put Marlene at risk. Gideon and Fabian are proof of that. Maybe after the war, if it's ever over, maybe then. But no, Dorcas didn't get to say goodbye. She decided it was a bad idea, and then ended up running to the train station, only to arrive too late. Marlene was already gone. That was probably for the best. "What?" Lily murmurs, drawing back to look down at her with her eyebrows furrowed. "What is it?" "Nothing," Dorcas clears her throat. "Nothing, I'm fine." Your enthusiasm just evaporated, so clearly you're not fine. If you don't want to, Dorcas, that's okay. It's... No, it's not that. It's not you. You... Lily raises both eyebrows and searches her face, and then her eyebrows raise higher. "There's someone else. You met someone. Oh, fuck, Dorcas, tell me everything." Dorcas heaves a sigh as Lily scrambles up and beams at her with excitement dancing in her eyes, looking delighted. "Oh, stop it. I'm not... Yes, I met someone, but we're not together or anything, obviously." "Obviously," Lily allows, nodding. "A Hallow?" "A Victor," Dorcas says. "Marlene McKinnon, you were here when she was in her games. Did you... watch?" Lily squints thoughtfully, then nods. "Yeah, I think I saw some of it, maybe. Blonde girl? Threw someone into a fire?" "That's the one." "She's fit." Dorcas bites her lip. "You have no idea." "Ooh," Lily says with a laugh, grinning. "Did you two—" "Yes, it was amazing. Dorcas sighs and looks down at her fingers. We got close, I suppose. She's really brilliant, Lily. I mean, really. Caught feelings, did you? Lily asks quietly. So many feelings. All of the feelings. Dorcas groans and drags her hands up and down her face, then drops them miserably, not even caring if she's smeared any of her makeup. She looks up to see Lily watching her sympathetically, because she already understands. Of course she does. We agreed to just be friends, or, well, she sort of left it open-ended, like the option to be more was there, but I refused. I had to. We can only be friends. I can't drag her into all of this, Lily. I won't. Lily's lips tip down into a frown, and her eyes visibly dim as she sighs. Fuck, Dorcas, I'm sorry. That's shit. Yeah, Dorcas agrees glumly, and they don't say anything else for a while. They don't really have to. That's the thing. It's easy with Lily, because this has never been an issue for them. The truth is, a part of Dorcas does love Lily, and will always love Lily, but she knew from the very start, when they first fell into bed together, that it was a love that could only grow to a certain point and go no further. They're both of the same mind on that, all too aware of what risks come with getting too close to someone else. It's sad, really. Lily's far worse than Dorcas is, honestly. She won't even let herself care, or she won't admit to herself that she does. Dorcas knows she does. For someone trying so hard to be removed from basic compassion and connection, Lily loves so loudly anyway. It bleeds out of her and coats all those around her, and she doesn't even see it. Lily does everything in her power not to care, not to love. Like if she does, it will cause her to shatter. But she can't stop it. She can only repress it, and Dorcas knows that's only going to hurt her in the long run, if she continues to find safety in that. But Dorcas isn't much better. She doesn't fool herself into thinking she doesn't care, or that she's not allowing herself to love, but she's all too aware that she can't let that matter. It can't be more important than her responsibilities. She can love and care as much as she wants, but she can't allow it to go anywhere. It won't save anyone. It just endangers them. Well, if it cheers you, Lily muses, I have good news. You mean that you're training to be a field medic? Yes, isn't it brilliant? Dorcas frowns. It's dangerous, Lily. Very fucking dangerous. The whole world is dangerous, no matter what you're doing, Dorcas, Lily retorts. At least this way, what I'm doing actually fucking matters. I just don't want you to get hurt. Dorcas doesn't finish. Can't finish. Even just thinking it scares her, like it's adding to the responsibility. Lily may not admit that she cares, but Dorcas has no such issues. Of course she cares about Lily. They may not be in love, but they have a bond. It was built on the exchange of cigarettes and swapped information neither of them were supposed to know, as well as stolen kisses and sneaking into the surface to blow smoke and wait for a better world. Just be careful, Lily. Who else is going to smoke with me in the Phoenix when I stop by if you're not around? I could say the same to you, Lily murmurs. Your position is no less dangerous, Dorcas. No, Dorcas says softly. No, it's not. A long, tense silence stretches between them. So, Lily coughs and scratches at her eyebrow, a sheepish smile curling her mouth. About those cigarettes. Dorcas bursts out laughing, almost against her will, and Lily's smile stretches into a full grin. She's so beautiful, truly, truly gorgeous. Emerald eyes and flushed cheeks, thick-thighed and wide hips, broad shoulders with a tattoo of a flower in between the blades, a pink petunia specifically. Dorcas asked why once, but Lily didn't answer. And Dorcas only had to ask one time to know never to ask again. Secrets and chilling stories live in Lily's eyes sometimes, and Dorcas often wants to coax them out of her, just to know, just to get closer. Lily looks pleased, and she perks up as Dorcas rolls off her bed and stumbles to her bag, digging around to pull out 2 cartons of cigarettes. 20 packs. It should keep her stocked up for a while, and really, it's the least Dorcas could do. Worship me, Evans, Dorcas declares. Lily snatches the cartons like they're made of gold, then lifts her gaze to Dorcas's, her mouth parting a little as she touches the very tip of her tongue to her top lip. Take off that pretty little outfit, and I'll do just that. I really can't stay long, Lily. Oh, you know I can be quick and still make it good. You can tell me about Merlin, if you like. Dorcas starts a little in surprise, blinking. While you're... Sure, why not? Spare no details. Lily sits the carton aside and reaches out to grab Dorcas's wrist to reel her in slowly, her voice softening and dropping to a lower, more sultry register that does immediately cause heat to stir in between Dorcas's hips. Tell me all about her. She told me I was flawless, you know? Said that I'm beautiful, always, Dorcas whispers, her mouth dry as Lily tugs her in between her spread legs. Lily's lips twitch up, and she tugs Dorcas's hand to her mouth, pressing a soft kiss to her palm. There's a smile teasing at the corners of her lips. Oh, she wasn't playing fair. No, she really wasn't, Dorcas agrees, a strain in her voice, her legs feeling a little weak and wobbly just from the memory of Marlene's mouth. And now Lily is doing something so irrevocably distracting and sinful, holding her gaze and wrapping her lips around Dorcas's pointer finger to scrape her teeth teasingly over the soft pad of it. Dorcas feels it between her fucking legs, and her whole body twitches. She can see Lily's eyes light up, can practically hear Lily thinking, gotcha, the seductive little shit. Dorcas isn't even upset, really. She'd like to be lost for a little while anyway. After all, there's so much to get away from, isn't there? Come here, Lily whispers, kissing her finger and easing her right into bed, and Dorcas goes willingly, happily, because she is not immune to Lily Evans's wiles, and she's all riled up just fucking thinking about Marlene McKinnon. And away, away, away they go, lost in each other, lost together. One of the poor bastards, and it doesn't even matter which one, in any case. Don't suspect they'll survive anyway. Our orders weren't specific? Nope, anyone will do. All right, this one then. He's been giving me funny looks for ages, I swear, and he's glaring at me sometimes, and if I didn't know any better, I'd think he was cursing me out in his head. That's exactly what I'm doing, you fucking cunt, Remus thinks as he raises his gaze to see 2 guards standing outside his cell, peering at him through the bars. He glares, purposefully. Oh, he's absolutely giving you shit in his head, one of them says, looking amused. Well, he'll wish he hadn't. The other one reaches out with her baton taser and knocks on the bars. On your feet. Still glaring, Remus reluctantly pushes to his feet, a shudder rippling through him as the cold seems to sweep into his bones even deeper with movement. He feels creaky, aching all over, weak and ever so slightly faint. The cell door slides open with a clang, and the guards sweep in immediately to cuff his hands, grabbing him by one arm each to shove him out. Remus stumbles along, staring straight ahead as he's led lower and lower through the prison, passing cell after cell on the way. Their steps echo through the eerie silence, ringing in his ears. His heart is sinking as they go lower, because he knows what this is. He knows where he's going. The screams always drift up from down below. He usually tries to ignore them, but he has a feeling he'll be unable to ignore his own. They take him in a room with a metal chair nailed down to the floor in the middle of it. A man is already there, sitting on a rolling stool next to it, a stand next to it as well. Remus can see a syringe and something else that looks like an oxygen mask sitting on it. He stares at it as he's led to the chair. Remove his mask, please, the man on the stool orders. He might be a doctor or a scientist, or both, by the looks of him. Remus tries not to tense up too much as the guards force him into the chair, pinning his arms down and cuffing each wrist. They cuff each ankle as well, then push his head back against the headrest and strap him into that with a padded strap that's already built in. Only then do they remove the mask on his face, and he immediately licks his dry lips, rolling his jaw and sipping in a breath of stale air. Got the carriage all ready? The possible doctor asks. Then the guards just stare at him, he huffs. For his body, if he doesn't make it. We lost 4 yesterday, and the guards on rotation held up the entire process by not having the carriage ready. The first guard says. The possible doctor scowls and points at the door. Go get the fucking carriage ready, useless bastards. The guards scowl, but they do as they're told, leaving the room while muttering under their breath. The possible doctor looks at Remus in exasperation. Really, you think I'd have better working conditions, considering what I'm working with? Genuinely, they don't pay me enough for this shit. Remus doesn't respond, of course. He's tempted to. He hasn't heard his own voice in months, he's assuming. It's not clear, because it's not as if they have fucking clocks or a calendar in Azkaban. But it's been a while, he's sure. The possible doctor just sighs and shakes his head as he reaches out to pick up the syringe. Inside it, there's a dark orange nearly blood-red, in fact, liquid that looks thin and swirly, about the consistency of water, even though it resembles fire. Remus automatically tenses up as the man carelessly tugs his sleeve up to reveal the bend of his elbow. "Best not to fight it much," he mutters wearily. "Never seemed to help the others, anyway. Hold still." Remus doesn't really have a choice in the matter, seeing as he's strapped to the fucking chair. Every part of him screams out in protest, wanting to fight, but he can only watch with his heart racing as the needle slides into his vein. As soon as the plunger starts pushing down, it's agony. It's pure fire licking at his nerve endings, eating away underneath his skin, acid burning right through his body. Remus screams. He can't help it. He's never felt anything like it in his life, a searing pain so stark that it's all he knows. Fuck, no, don't! Remus is throwing himself against his restraints in the attempt to get his hands free and rip his fucking skin off. But it's not his hands that break out. The strap on his head wasn't prepared for him to absolutely lose it and put so much pressure on it, so he flings himself forward as he convulses in the chair. Mindless with desperation and pain, Remus quite literally just slams to the side, tilting over the arm of the chair. He clips the stand beside him, or, well, his face does, actually, but he genuinely can't feel it through the pain of everything else. All he knows is that his insides are melting and something is dripping down his face. And maybe that's just the skin sliding off his skull, because he's boiling. He's on fire. He's... Just hold still, someone yells, and Remus knows nothing, can't make sense of anything past the flames eating through his muscles and tendons and bones. Surely he's collapsing into ash. How is he solid? How... Remus is slammed back into the chair, held in place as he thrashes, and then he can't move again. The whole world is out of focus, and there's blood in his eyes, in his mouth. He thinks it's his. Let's see, deep breath now. The words don't really make sense to Remus, and he can barely hear them, but there's a clear mask coming down to frame his nose and mouth. It's a closed dome, like an oxygen mask, and there's a black canister attached to the bottom of it, with a hazard symbol on it right beside the Hallow emblem. If Remus were in the right state of mind, he would find that fitting. The Hallow is a hazard, isn't it? As it is, Remus can't think of anything. It's just pain. Pure torture. The mask settles around his mouth and nose, pressing in so hard that his screams are muffled. He can taste them. They're tangy and sour with fear and anguish. There's a click, then a strange puff noise, and Remus's eyes focus long enough to see a small cloud of bright green fill the mask. He doesn't mean to inhale it. He really doesn't, because he's sure it's a bad idea to do so. But everything hurts, and it's so hard to breathe, and he's gasping. Remus inhales. The pain gets worse, so much worse. It reaches a peak that splits his brain in half, and he's dying. He's so sure that he's dying. He can only be dying, and he doesn't want to. Fights so hard not to, rebelling against a mere thought, because somehow, through everything, through the pain, and what must be death, Remus finds it in himself to cling to one last lucid thought, before everything fades away. Serious, 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 serious.